What's everybody, Shane here from Fugatech 3D Printing. Today we're doing part 5 of my Voron Legacy build. So today we're doing the X-axis and the Hotend. Welcome back everybody. So yes, part 5 of the build. We are getting closer and closer to completing this every single video, which is fantastic. So last time we went ahead and did the Y-axis. That was quite a lot of 3D printed parts, but generally not too bad to assemble. This time we're doing the X-axis, which honestly to attach the X-axis is 2 printed parts and the 2 smooth rods. That's actually probably the easiest part of this to do. The hard part is this, the Hotend. There is a lot of 3D printed parts in here. There's lots of bolts. There's lots of heat inserts in this. And it took me, I spent the last about hour doing a dry run of putting this together because I've never built any of the Voron stuff before. So I'm not familiar with how they do certain things. That being said, there are some really cool features of this, but there's also some real downsides to it. It's just, I know it's hard to explain on what is kind of easy to work with it and what's really not. But again, the whole point of me doing this build is to go with the stock configuration of the Voron Legacy. I know other people have said to do, I think it's the Afterburner or Stealth Burner, one of the other ones, other than doing this. But that's a direct drive unit. This is a Bowden setup, which again, I want to give it a shot. I hear the M4 extruder for this printer is great. So, or I should say the M4 extruder from Voron is good. So I definitely want to give that a shot and see how it goes. So with this dry run, I was able to figure out all the different hardware that was supposed to go in there, all the bolts, where all of those go, all the different lengths. Again, most of them are in the CAD, so if you want to check that out, I'll put a link down below where you can go ahead and go through that. And this is how I'm assembling this. There is no instruction guide. This is the closest thing to instruction guide I think we're going to get for a while on this printer. So I do hope that me going through the CAD and figuring all this out really does help. So again, the X-axis attaching it is super easy. It's 2 printed parts. There's 2 bolts on each side to clamp that on. So we're gonna go ahead and leave that for the very last. What I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take this apart and I'm gonna walk you through how to assemble it. We're gonna go ahead and install both our fan. Now I did have to switch to a 12-volt fan, so I'm gonna have to use a DC to DC power buck because my 24-volt fan from Winston or whatever it's from, I just bought a cheap one on Amazon, doesn't fit inside where that's supposed to go in here. And then the 40-20 fan is interesting because you literally have to take it apart in order to fit it inside of here. This front casing acts as the front of the fan. So very interesting, took me a little while to figure all that out, but let me get this apart and we'll get talking about it. So here I have the Hotend, totally exploded. This is also Hotend and X carriage, I guess technically. And yeah, lots of bolts. Not too many printed parts, but they all go a certain way. They have to be assembled in a certain order. Again, I'm not familiar with the way Voron does a lot of this, so it was new to me. So hopefully this will help you all figure it out a little bit easier. So we're gonna start off first with the main carriage here. So this is actually what's going to have your bearings. So we have these 2 parts, so they're almost a mirror of each other, except one side has all the heat inserts in it, and the other side has 3 bolts that run through it. These are 3 40 mil M3s that run through to squeeze it together, and we have to put our bearings in here. See where these catches here? So same as it was on the X and Y, we need to put 2 LM8 LUU bearings in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first, and then we'll come back and put the screws in. So there are the 2 bearings in there. So now I'm going to take my 3 40 mil bolts and I'm going to put them all the way in. And to make this quick work, I've got my little screwdriver here. We're just going until it's flush. Okay, so those are all flush with that now. And that is one piece. So this is going to be the base of basically our entire build. Now, while we already have this out, right here on the back is our belt holders. A little hard to see, but there are these little white pieces. So these just go in here between where the bearings go, okay? And there are these are 30 mil that go in, and we're just going to tack them in place, just so they stay there. Now we will come back later onto this one, and we will on the, this is going to be the left side. Well, right if you're looking in front of the printer, left from the back. So we're gonna go ahead, that is where our end stop is gonna go. But we're gonna wait to put that on until later. So I did those in accent color so you can see them easily enough. But yeah, so that is those. And then these last two big bolts here, these are again 40 mil. These go here in the back. These are not in the CAD, but I figured that these 40 mil are the right size. So these actually go through and are going to actually hold on the top part of the hot end. So the hot end is in two pieces. We have the lower half or lower part and the upper part. So the upper part is held on with these two bolts onto this carriage. The lower part is held on where it kind of loops onto these lower two. It loops onto these lower two 20 mil that I already have in here, and then it screws into these bottom two M3 heat inserts. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and do the bottom because it's a little bit easier. All right, so we have our bottom parts here. So we're also going to need our hot end. I'm using E3D clone because that's what works. And even the Voron guys say that they use the clones. So this should work out just fine. Now this is a very simple E3D clamp where it just goes on one part there. The little small back part clips on. We're gonna go, just need to get my wires and everything kind of settled there. So in order to hold this back plate to the front, we're just using some 6 M3 by 16. So 2 M3 by 16 socket head screws. Again, just go until this is flush. And that has a nice tight grip on it. And there's even a cutout here in the back for where the back of the heater is. I think this is going to end up heating up. I may end up having to switch this around. It doesn't really show. Let me see if it shows in the CAD real quick, because I don't honestly know which way the block's supposed to go. So according to the CAD, this is backwards. Okay, so the block goes forward, which means I need to switch these around. Okay, so the block goes in the front. To figure out where these wires are going to end up going, I think we're just going to keep them down, and then we'll put the back plate on. Okay, so there's that there. And our cables are just going to come up here, up the side here. So that's okay. And then, so that's that part there. So in here, we're going to put two M3 by 40 mil socket heads. Now these are what is going to secure this entire thing to the carriage. Okay, so these two M3 by 16s were secured by socket heads in the top, and then there are into heated inserts, and then there are 2 more heated inserts here on the bottom, and that is what this front fan cover is going to go over. But before we do that, so the fan is actually friction fit, and again, this is why I had to go with a 12 volt sun-on fan, because the Winston one just doesn't fit in here. It's the casing is too big. You have to have one of these boxy little guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this squeezed back in here. Incredibly tight fit, because yay for ABS. Okay, so that's in there just like so. You can see it is flush with it. And then this, we're going to pass our power cables through so they can meet up with the hot end cables. And again, I have to actually wire all this up later and put a connector on it, all that jazz, but right now we're not really worried about that. So put that through. And then there are these 2 M3 by 12 that secure this front face on. Okay, so that is the bottom. And what's kind of cool about this is that there's this lip up top, this hinge I should say. This fits a piece of 1.75 millimeter filament and will actually join into the front there like this. So this can actually will come up. But for right now, we're just gonna leave it as whole. We're gonna end up undoing this bottom one so that we can secure it to the whole thing, but we have to put the top together first. So that's the next part we're gonna do here. All right, so the top is a lot of parts. They don't even really fit all in frame because there's so many doggone parts to this. So we're gonna go ahead and start basically from the middle here and work our way. So this is the Bowden adapter that goes in. So it has 2 heat inserts in here. Let's see. All right, so we have 2 heat inserts in the front here, 2 heat inserts in the back. This part does not have any, and these just key right together. Okay, so we have the hole there in the bottom, and in the top. So here at the bottom, this is where the lead from our hot end is going to come up into here. Again, because here is the bottom here. So this is actually going to go up just up into there and connect like so. And our filament, a little bit of PTFE will, like our leader will go there. And then from the Bowden, when coming in here, it goes all the way down and gets nice and snug. There's a coupler that goes right here in the top. I don't have it yet, but when I do get it, I will take this apart and put it back in. But just know there's a coupler that goes up top there. So we have the Bowden adapter together. Now we're going to take part of the fan assembly and we're going to put it right there. Now the back of the fan assembly doesn't have any screws in it or any heat inserts, anything in there. It's just going to not go on yet. Okay, so we have this. We're going to set this aside now. Now we're going to get our fan adapter and we're going to get our fan. So this is a 40-20 fan. In order to make this work, you see this top shroud here? Gotta take that off. So we have to get a small flathead screwdriver and we need to undo these little tabs here. Okay, so now we have just the squirrel cage there for the fan. And this guy, we're going to pass the lead through the back. Again, like we did with the other fan. This is for our part cooling. And then this is going to just fit just down in there like so. And it's nice and snug in there. And we have the fan in there. Now we have to take the front part, which is again your accent piece, and this just fits right over it like so. And that ends up becoming the new housing. See how thick that is in there? That is now the new housing for that fan. If you flip this over from the back, you're going to do two 16 mil M3 socket heads, and they screw right into the back of this front part. There is no heat insert in there. It looked like there's supposed to be, but there isn't. Okay, so now this is essentially our part cooling fan. It's shroud and everything all together right there. And then we'll go ahead and fish out our line out the side there, our power cable. Easy enough to do. We're going to take our Bowden adapter and our back plate where our cables are all going to come out of. We're going to put those two together this way. There we go. And we have two M3x30s that go in here. This is the one part that's tricky with this hot end, this extruder hot end, yeah, because remembering all the different ways they go. So we're putting together all the different pieces. Now we're going to put them all together. So we put our Bowden adapter with our kind of cable guide here. So again, all of our cables are going to come here for strain relief. Now we're going to take our front fan, put it on here, and attach this with the M3x30 bolts. Okay, so now the front fan is connected. Now we have just this little back cover that goes on, another little accent piece with two M3x16s. Again, this is literally just a small accent piece. On other versions, this is actually like a motor and stuff on the back there. Okay, so there we have the upper part assembled. So now what we're going to do is, I think it's easier to attach the upper part to the actual main body here. So again, we have these two M3x40 mils there. They go right here into the back. And that's just going to sit right on top, like so. That notch there. And then these two guys here, they go all the way in. Again, it's a long way because it's going through several different pieces of plastic here until it's finally nesting into the front part of the Bowden adapter. So it's going through quite a lot of plastic. It's pretty good. It feels pretty solid. There's no flex in there at all, which is great. So you can see here in this back cavity, this is where you would put I think it's like their inductive probe or something like that. I'm not using that. I'm going to be using a clicky probe, so I'm not doing any probe in this video. That'll be a separate video there. All right, so now we have our hot end, actual hot end assembly that can attach to the main carriage. Now this is kind of nifty the way it goes. So it's going to just basically slide. I need to pull these back a little bit. I'm going to take the front off for now because I need to back up these mounting M3s, the long ones. So the fan out of the way, this basically just kind of notches in there and then can tighten down these two bolts. Okay, so now that is attaching a hot end. So basically, the nice thing is with this hot end, with this assembly, you can take your hot end out with just these two bolts. You have to take this front fan off first, but again, let's show you the cool part here. So this hinge here is what we need to do. So let me grab another piece of filament. Give me a second. So since I don't have a 1.75 millimeter drill bit, I did find this a little bit finicky the first time I did it. I've done it once so far. We're gonna go ahead and do it again here. So basically you just have to get this hinge lined up, get your filament, and feed it through. Man, that was first try. That was too much right there. That was honestly really good. So first try on that one. So let me, and again, this just flips open like that. So basically what it is once you have it on your printer, okay, you would then just undo these 2 bolts, lift this up, take out these 2 bolts, and then you can take out your entire hot end. So 4 bolts to take out, not too bad. You do just need to leave some slack here in your fan to be able to do that. So I will have to try and remember that. I'm also gonna put some hot glue on the back of my fan here just so those leads don't get pulled too much. So now we can close that and then just have those 2 guys attach. And there is our hot end assembly. So that wasn't horrible, but it definitely was not a short part of this build series. Definitely it's easier than the Mark III's or anything like that to build. I can definitely say that. So now let's go ahead, we're gonna clip this filament down and then I'm gonna show you how to put this on the printer. So we're looking at the back of the printer now. So front is here and here's where we have our threaded inserts on the back of each of these Y carriages, XY carriage, XY joiners they call them, either way. They're held on, so we just have these clamps that will clamp on our smooth rods. So I'm going to get my smooth rods here. We're going to go ahead and put them through our bearings. Just kind of get held on there. So I'm going to put that all the way to the front. Try to get these even, like that. And we get our clamps here. So, but they actually like clamp over pretty hard on these. I just need to run the rod through it. Let me see here. All right, so now I've got the clamp on there. I'm going to see how this lines up first. Try and center the rods. I need to come down more. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and just tack this on here. There we go, okay. So now we've got this side. It's a good positive connection there. All right, well I got that sorted out. I have to say I really dislike the way that these clamp on. I think they could have done a way better job of that somehow, but I just really don't like the way those go. So obviously with no belts, it does have a little bit of racking in there, but it moves smoothly. We hit our end stop in the back, and then coming forward all the way. X moves nice and easily. So yeah, that's really good. I guess the real assembly of all this is done. We just need to run some belts. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so running those belts took way more than I thought it was gonna take. They're a little bit difficult. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through the way they go. There's the low path and the high path. So low path starts here on the right side of the extruder, goes around the first idler here, goes up to the front, goes all the way to the back, does a loop around of the motor, loop around again, comes back across the printer, back across this rear idler, then hits the idler on the left side of the printer, and then terminates back at the hot end here. Now for the high road, so again these are 2 different heights so they don't hit each other. We're coming out of the left side, gonna hang to the front, going around the front idler, all the way back, doing a loop around the motor, then coming back this way across, going around the other idler, and terminating back at the extruder. So far it seems to have worked. I have no idea how well this is going to go. There's no power to it yet, but everything moves as it should, I think. I'm just going to kind of keep messing with it a little bit here to make sure that all the belts are where they should be and how they should be running and whatnot, but it seems like everything is going okay so far. Okay, well that's the X-axis, the extruder, and running the belts. on the Voron Legacy. I'll try to do a good graphic on there if I can to show you guys exactly how the belt goes. It might look like a child drew it, but hey, it's better than kind of whatever else I can make happen here. I hope I ran all the belts the right way and I connected all this up correctly, because all I'm using is the CAD and the belts don't exist in the CAD file. So I just kind of had to figure it out. Again, hoping that it's all correct. We'll find out whenever I get to the next part. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was helpful for you for getting together, especially the hot end part of this, because that was quite a lot of parts to put together, a lot of bolts to remember where they go and the order it goes in. I messed it up a few times, but hey, we got there. It's the only second time I built it in the same night. So yeah, all that is done. The next part I'm going to do is probably going to be electronics, and then we'll probably do extruder at some point. So that'll be coming out in late January. So I hope you guys are tuned in for that, because it's going to be great. So thank you all for tuning in. And again, I will put all the parts for what I've printed and everything I bought down in the video description. So if you guys use those links down below, a little bit of what you buy comes to me at no cost to you, so I can build these printers and have fun doing it all. So thank you all for joining in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give the video a like, a thumbs up, whatever it is. What's it? A like, a subscribe, and all that. Yeah, it's late. I'm tired now. So thank you all for joining. Have a good night and happy printing.